What's up, my friends, and welcome into the PHLY Flyers podcast. Welcome into the pregame show. It is brought to us by Coors Light. Visit CoorsLight.com/PHLY hockey to get Coors Light delivered to your door or find a store near you. I feel like I've been doing this a lot this week. I'm not Bill Matz. You're not Bill Matz.
No.
I have not been John Marks this week. I have not been Bill Matz this week. I have not been Charlie O'Connor this week. I'm Tyler Zulli. So for those of you that are looking for Bill Matz and really good hockey coverage, I'm not providing it today. But the guy to my left is that Steve Jaco from Broad Street Hockey and the FlyPerBly podcast. He's the guy that's going to bring you the hockey wisdom and knowledge today. I'm just here to steer a rudderless ship.
I'm going to try at least. I mean, I've been doing this over a decade, but does that matter? Can my mind go blank at any time? Who knows?
It could go blank, but at least when you recover and it reboots, there'll be hockey on the brain. Because all I'm thinking about is Christian Walker signing with the Houston Astros and Penn State football winning. So I got to reboot my brain a little bit. This is like the Mac, the old school Macs that got to boot up for like 25 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
I'll be here at some point. But it might be the third period by the time I get here.
I totally understand. I got you tonight. We're going to talk some hockey. We're going to talk some Flyers hockey. And hopefully we're going to be talking about a Flyers win in a couple hours.
Yeah, Flyers Blue Jackets tonight coming up at 7 o'clock. You can catch the puck drop. We'll be back with post-game show as well right after the game, and we will be there for an hour. We'll check in with Charlie O'Connor from the Wells Fargo Center. We'll do everything that Bill and Charlie and Brendan normally do. It'll just be a couple of different people tonight. But let's break right into this thing. We're going to start with some news from the Flyers. As Charlie tweeted out earlier today, Sean Couturier did skate with the top line at morning skate today, but he will not be available for personal reasons this evening.
And actually, if I may correct you for a second, he actually didn't skate with the top line.
Excuse me, did not skate. You're right.
They had Scott Lawton skating in place of him on the top line because he wasn't available. But at that moment, Charlie expected him to play. That was the expectation.
Sure.
So this is a real stunner coming just a few minutes before game time, about a half hour before game time.
Yeah, it's my bad. He did not skate. You're right. He said, but he will play. The expectation was Sean Couturier will play. It was personal reasons is listed. We won't dive any deeper than that. We'll leave it as it is. So Sean Couturier is out tonight. A couple of thoughts, I guess, on the game and on the lineup for who's going to move up. Will it just be an ascension for Morgan Frost and Noah Cates, Ryan Poehling? Will they move up a line apiece? Will Scott Lawton center a line tonight? Some moving parts for the forwards before we even get in the defensive conversation. With the Emil Andrae conversation has taken over the Flyers world.
Sure, it's gotten chippy too.
A lot of move. Yeah. Oh my goodness. We'll hear from Torts in a bit, but a lot of moving parts from the forward skating lines tonight.
Yeah, I mean, this is a big move right here. I mean, Sean Couturier, while he does not move like he used to move, Sean Couturier used to be the Flyers center. He was the number one center for a while with this team. And he's still the best center they have. But now it's due to the lack of depth. He just doesn't move like he used to move.
Sure.
Regardless, he's still the best center they have. So this is a big loss to the lineup. I mean, without him, they don't have a legit top-line center. What I have to imagine if, I'm messing around with my NHL 24 simulation right here, I probably just moved Scott Lawton over into the 4C, bump Poehling, Cates, and Frost all up. So that would make it Tippett, Frost, Konechny, Farabee, Cates, Michkov, Forrester, Poehling, Brink, and Lawton, Ulla Luxell, and Garnett Hathaway on the fourth line. I imagine, so Luxell was called up today, and I have to imagine he's going to get fourth line minutes. He's been very good with the Phantoms, but there is a large difference between the AHL and the NHL. He looked good in preseason for the Flyers too, though, I have to say.
Yeah, a game-winning goal a couple nights ago, a hat trick not too long ago as well, 24 points in 25 games this year for the Phantoms. The numbers are there.
The numbers are there.
And you're going to hear from Torts, right? He talks about the jump from the American Hockey League to the NHL is significant for just about everybody. But the offensive productivity is there at the AHL level. But I think you're probably right. This feels to me like simplicity works the best when you're dealing with losing a top-line center and you're moving a bunch of different guys around. To me, it feels like slide Lawton over. He's played the center position plenty in the past. Make him the 4C. Move Luxell to as the fourth line left winger and just bump everybody up a line.
Yeah. But it's John Tortorella. So expect the unexpected. It could be anything. And the other thing is, these lines might be this way at the beginning of the game. Does not mean they're going to look like this by the end of the game. John Tortorella is known to mess around if things are not looking right to him. And looks like we have an update. So.
Okay, so it is going to be Laughton on the top line tonight.
Oh boy, that's an interesting one right there, because I don't know if Scott Laughton can. I like Scott Laughton a lot. He's the heart and soul of the team. Great guy. I don't think he is a top line player. Again, this is how they're going to start. I don't think this is how they're going to finish. They're definitely going to remix things as things go along. But Scott Laughton, Owen Tippett, and Travis Konechny on that top line. Joel Farabee, Morgan Frost, and Matvei Michkov on the second line. Third line, I'm not surprised they kept intact.
Yeah, it's been good.
It's been really good. Tyson Forrester had 2 goals the other night. Noah Cates has had a bunch of goals recently. And Bobby Brink, he needs those 2 defensive guys so he can really just focus in on doing his thing on offense.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that third line a little bit when it comes to the Emil Andrae conversation, because Tyson Forster was one of the 4 guys who I guess had the capability, quote unquote, of being sent down without being exposed to waivers. It was never going to happen the way that he's played. Matvei Michkov's another one, right? So you like when you talk about the Emil Andrae conversation, it was very limited amount of guys that could be sent down to the minors without being subject to waivers. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. But something you brought up with we'll see how it goes and see how things transition. I always think about, I'm not worried about what the lines look like. I'm not worried about who the starting 5 is in the NBA. I'm not worried about who your 3 receivers are in the NFL. Like, I don't care who starts the game. I want to know who's on the ice for the last 60 seconds. I want to know who's on the floor for the last minute and a half of an NBA game. I want to know who's on the field for the last drive of an NFL game. Kind of like your hero lines, if you will. I don't know. You brought up NHL. I'll bring up the old school NHL games.
Oh, sure.
You remember
I'm into
like,
that.
You remember in like NHL 05, 06, you would have the hero line and they would get a boost at the end of the game.
Oh, yeah. I love that.
That's who to me I care about. Like, who's on your hero line at the end of the game. I would have to imagine if the game is in jeopardy, a tight game, either a tie game late, you're down a goal, especially if you're down a goal and you're playing, with a pulled goalie and a 6th skater. My guess would be Scott Laughton's probably not on that line. But in the last 60 seconds.
He is a guy who's been known for defense. So it depends. Do the Flyers have a lead, or do the Flyers not?
Right, and that's why I left out if they're up a goal late and they're playing, then Columbus is playing 6-on-5, because then Laughton might be on the ice.
Yeah. If I need a point, I'm throwing Frosty out. Actually, at this point, I might throw Cates out there, because Cates is the one who's been having the offensive success lately on scoring goals as he has in recent games. Tippett, Konechny, those are the guys I'm looking at late. Michkov, obviously, and maybe even Farabee. Like some sort of mix of those top 6 guys and maybe Cates there. But Scott Laughton, if I need a goal late, like, I love Scott Laughton. I'm probably not throwing him out there for that goal at the end of the game.
Scott Laughton, who, by the way, like, I was ready to say, I was one of the people that was pretty vocal about put the C on him a couple years ago. Like, you brought up heart and soul type of guy, like the type of guy you want in the locker room, the type of guy that you want as like a leader of your team. Productivity's sake, is he a top line center? I guess we're going to find out tonight. Like, let me ask you this. How many minutes as a 1C are you really expecting Scott Laughton to play?
Oh my God. I don't know. It really depends. Like, if he comes out and sets the world on fire,
Doesn't
which
make you
I'm
feel
not
really
expecting,
good about.
I don't think I'd be surprised if it's more than like 10 minutes as a top line player, but we'll see. He did score 4 goals the other night, so he had that going for him. He has had moments of success this year. I believe Seattle, he had 2 goals earlier this year. So he's a guy who can surprise you sometimes, and he is a heart and soul guy. I just don't think the ability is there, and especially to hang with Owen Tippett and Travis Konechny, who Owen Tippett's one of the fastest Flyers I think I've ever seen, period. Sure. And Travis Konechny's having an outstanding offensive year. I mean, maybe it just comes down to he has to clog up space in front of the goalie. I've done that in floor hockey before. So even
Counts just the same, right?
Even the least talented of us can succeed with the right partners.
So 3-game losing streak for the Flyers entering this one. Losses to Minnesota, to Detroit, both on the road, LA on Thursday. I thought 2 very different games between Detroit and LA. Not in the result, obviously. 13 goals given up, and obviously it feels like there's a defense problem all of a sudden. But Detroit felt to me like it was a lot of self-inflicted wounds. The zone exit passes were dreadful. Like, there was multiple times where I watched Patrick Kane skate in on a 2-on-1, a 3-on-1, a 3-on-0. Sam Ersson got left out to dry quite a bit against Detroit.
Absolutely.
And like he wasn't great, but I felt like he really didn't get a lot of help in front of him for a majority of the game. The next night against LA, especially in the third period, it felt to me like a team that was playing a back-to-back. It felt like a team that was playing a back-to-back, not only just playing a back-to-back, but playing a back-to-back in two different cities. LA's a really good team. They looked like they were just gassed. So I hope with a couple of days off, they're home again, a little mini 2-game homestand, a much lesser team in Columbus compared to what the Kings were a couple nights ago. You hope there's a little bit of a rejuvenation for this team, who did beat Columbus not too long ago, just 11 days ago, in Columbus 5-3. This feels like it could be a snap the streak type of game for this team.
I sure hope it is, and I thought going into tonight that it definitely would be. This Couturier news really it hits me hard as far as my belief in this team pulling it out. But at the same time, Columbus is not great. They're 13, 15, and 5 at this point, 31 points. That's 1 point behind the Flyers, mind you, but I don't know. I feel like Columbus is not very good. They don't have a lot of flashy talent on that team. They're a team that the Flyers should beat. They absolutely should beat, even without Couturier in the lineup like it is tonight. Like, they can still do this. And Sam Ersson has the start tonight, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So that's a big plus in the Flyers book right here. Alexei Kolosov played like a period and a half of, I would say even a period and 3/4 of good hockey the other night against LA. And then after that goal that he gave up to, that he gave up to Anze Kopitar, where he just couldn't cover it in time, the wheels completely fell off, and it was just terrible. If you need a guy, like Sam Ersson is supposed to be the starter on this team. So if you need a guy to right the ship, to really shut down a team, this is where Sam Ersson has to step up and be the dude. And I really hope he can go and do the thing tonight.
So we'll dive a little bit deeper into the Emil Andrae conversation coming up. We've got our best bets brought to us by Bet365. We'll talk about the Blue Jackets. I was about to say the Blackhawks, not the Chicago Blackhawks, the Columbus Blue Jackets.
It's fine.
We'll do all of that in just a moment. But first, let me tell you about our friends over at TrueMark Financial. And listen, we all know how hard it is to succeed without proper coaching. Torts, you've been pretty vocal about Emil Andrae. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. But if you've got kids, you want to plan on coaching your children on financial literacy, and that's where our friends with TrueMark Financial come into play, because TrueMark has the ultimate playbook for teaching financial literacy and responsibility with the free Greenlight account. Now, what is the Greenlight account and the Greenlight app? Well, it helps give your kids the understanding of what spending and saving money actually means in the real world. You can set up saving goals, you can track their spending, and they can even get an allowance all right there in the Greenlight app. And one of the really cool parts about the Greenlight app is each of your kids will get a debit card, so it's going to make them feel like they have a little bit of adult responsibilities. It's also going to teach them that money is not infinite. Believe me, I know. I just bought Christmas presents this week. My bank account doesn't love me. Listen, I really didn't know what I was doing as a kid and into my early teenage years. This Greenlight app will help your children understand the responsibility that is required to save, to spend, and to spend frugally, if you will, at times. It's kind of like coaching your kids through your very own financial game. And the best part, it's free with the Greenlight app. When the holidays are right around the corner, it is the perfect time to introduce your kids to Greenlight. So get signed up today. Visit TrueMark.com/Greenlight for more information. Welcome back to the PHLY Flyers pregame show here on PHLY, brought to us by Coors Light, and we'll talk about Bet365 in just a little bit. But the big news of the day, the big news of the week for the Flyers is Emil Andrae and him being sent down. Obviously, with the holiday roster freeze around the corner, the Flyers had to make a decision. There were only 4 players that the Flyers could you could send down anybody, but you would, of course, have to pass them through waivers. 4 players that the Flyers could have sent down without having to pass through waivers, 2 of which we kind of talked about were Tyson Forster and Matvei Michkov. Not really a conversation starter. Kind of dies right on the table.
No, thank you.
So it brings you to 2 guys, and Emil Andrae ends up being the odd man out. John Tortorella talked about it at his press conference. Brendan, was this today or yesterday? Today, John Tortorella talked about it. Let's hear from the Flyers head coach about the decision to have Emil Andrae be the odd man out and send him down to the minor leagues.
Decision to send Andrae down to Lehigh, was that just to make sure he keeps playing through the holiday break?
No, it's a no-brainer. It's gotten too rich for him. part of the easy part of the process. He gets a little bit up here, starts falling off. We are not going to keep putting a kid into a spot where we're hurting him with some struggles on there. He struggled against LA. Hell of a spot I put him in against a pretty good team, a really good team. But this is part of the process. So this isn't. You guys tend to read into. I'm going to tell you all right now. It's not that complicated in our decision making. This is the right thing to do for him. There's no secret stuff going on to get him through Christmas break. He needs to go down and play because there's been some struggles in his game. I'll tell you one thing. He made some good outlet passes against LA. It's one of his strengths. But as far as defending and some of the other things that comes in his game, he needs to go back down and play, and we'll see where we go.
Back to Andre for a second. You mentioned earlier this week about you were asked about Michkov, about when you scratched over the 2 games, and you said that, I was expecting him to respond well. He did. When you scratched Andre, did you think he responded well? Did you think he lost confidence, that you didn't see what necessarily you wanted to see from him in practices after the scratch?
Well, I wasn't looking for a response. When a defenseman comes up from the American League, it's started off really well. But when you watch and the adrenaline wears off and things start getting caught up, all the conversations were with Emil is what is best for him. So I take him out because I thought it was just a bit of a struggle for him. Wasn't happy with Cam's game. Put Emil back in. Wasn't planning to put Emil back in, but I thought Yorkie's game has struggled so badly that we try Emil. And again, you can still, the strength of his game is going to be outlet passes. I thought he made some of those, but it was a major struggle defensively. So I wasn't looking for a response. That's part of the process for a young defenseman from the American League to sit out some games, get back in. If he played well, he probably wouldn't have been sent down. But we've had these conversations now for a couple of weeks on Emil, what's best for him. So this is, to me, and it may not be the right word to use, it's an easy decision because it's what's best for him to help him develop. And we're still in that part of our phase as a hockey club, is to try to help these guys develop. And this is the right thing to do. And for me to look for a response, that's not it. I'm looking for a response tonight from Yorkie. You're goddamn right I am, because he has been in neutral long enough. Because I've watched Yorkie play at a whole different level from his first year to the level he's gotten to, and I've talked to you about that. But where his game's at now, it's unacceptable. So I am certainly looking for a response out of him.
Well, the bluntness never ceases to amaze me from John Tortorella because he just tells you how it is. He basically said, let me ask you this. What does too rich mean? What is he getting at when he says too rich?
Is he talking about cheesecake? Because I otherwise have no idea what the hell he's talking about. He is so fascinating to me as a figure. Like, he truly has not disappointed as head coach of the Philadelphia Flyers. Like, you had expectations for him coming in as far as just an entertainment standpoint with the media, and he's delivered every time. Absolutely delivered.
So I am more along the lines of baseball, but I am a huge stat nerd. I love the analytic stats. I love the deep dive stats. But whether you love the deep dive stats or you just want like point blank, my eyeballs tell me one thing, I find this kind of interesting because like both of those things tell you that Emil Andrae has been pretty good for this Flyers team, especially as of late. So let's do the nerd stats first. And Brennan, we have one graphic for you here about Emil Andrae here. This is from Charlie's article on allphly.com, and I urge you to go check it out. This is in response to positive teams' impact on expected goal differential at even strength. Now, I am not a hockey nerd or a hockey wizard by any means, but when you look at the names that are on that list that include Cal McCarr, Luke Hughes, Adam Fox, and Emil Andrae's name pops up in between them, this is pretty good company to keep. He is third on this season in impact on even strength expected goal differential. Proves to me that he's playing pretty well. And then if you don't want to do the nerdy stuff and you just want to like that guy can play hockey and you win or lose games with them and without them on the ice, this season since November 11th, and thank you, Charlie, again for this stat, the Flyers are 8-3-2 with Emil Andrae in the lineup. They're 1-4 without him in the lineup. So whether you like the nerd stuff or you like the what my eyeballs tell me thing, this seems to be kind of an interesting choice. I know they were limited, but it seems like an interesting choice.
It is an interesting choice. And this is a decision that if the Flyers were more competitive, I feel like I'd be losing a little bit more sleep over choices like this.
Sure.
But because this is kind of a whatever kind of season, this is a real development season. Let's see what we got. Let's see who's good. Let's see what Michkov can do in the NHL game kind of season. I'm not going to I don't know. This doesn't hurt me too much, but it is a head scratcher. And I don't really understand it, especially, I don't understand why they're kind of scared to lose Igor Zamula here, because number one, you can find a translator. There's plenty of translators out there looking for hire for Michkov, and I know he's not doing that role anymore. But Zamula he hasn't brought, his best nights, he's not noticeable, right? His best nights, he's doing well because you didn't see him do something bad.
Sure.
And Andrae on his best nights, he's been chippy. He's been very good on the power play. He's been moving the puck. Andre's done a lot of positive things, and I'm bummed to see him go down. I do understand it to a degree because, I don't believe in losing a player to waivers if you don't have to. They've lost a lot of players over the years, and it's always frustrating when you lose a player unnecessarily. But I also don't particularly care about Zamula at this point. I mean, it's good to have in case of injuries for sure, because you don't want to be relying on Erik Johnson for more than you have to, because that guy has been around the block and back, and he's just not a guy who can be an every night player.
And the role that he's taken, he knows it. We know it. Torts knows it. That's not an everyday player. It's a mentorship role. It's a, player coach, almost pseudo kind of double, dual role. That's what we expected, and that's what Erik Johnson signed up for, right? Right. So a game or two is when he's in the lineup, you go, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
I don't want to extend it, weeks at a time if I don't have to.
But it's kind of been that for him for a while. But he understands. Sure. That's what he signed up for. But I totally understand the Andrae one. What drives me a little nuts is John Tortorella is somehow both the bluntest person, but also he just lies through his teeth. So I'm not calling him a liar flat out. Don't come fight me, Tortsy. But I will say, there are times where I feel like he's not being 100% honest with his reasons for certain moves. Mm-hmm. Last year, he scratched Couturier late in the season, and he was saying it was because he was bad, and there was a lot of controversy over the fact it was the captain. But it might be this hockey machismo thing or something. But it was clear that Couturier, after not playing a full NHL season in 2 years, was tired. He was run down. He's had injuries. The guy needed a break. Just give him a break and say he's having a break. But again, there is a method to the madness. I don't know what it is, but there definitely is one. So I feel like it's more of the same here. There is an obvious reason they don't want to lose somebody to waivers by sending Andrae down. But why can't we just say that? Why do we have to try and play head games with him over the fact that, he's not playing that great?
Gamesmanship, Steve. That's the word they keep using, right? Coaches have used that word for forever.
And he's the king of it. He is the king of gamesmanship. I would love to see playoff Torts with the Flyers, because I can't even imagine the kind of head games he'd play in that scenario. And I do want to see that. But at the same time, I'm a little fearful.
Sure. Listen, we could talk about this Emil Andrae conversation forever, because I think there's a million different scenarios. And Charlie and Bill did it yesterday, right? They talked about it for, Brendan, what was it, 40 some odd minutes they had this conversation before
that sounds like Charlie and Bill.
Before they even got to the break. So we could have this conversation forever, but we don't have 40 some odd minutes. We got about 5 left before the Flyers and the Blue Jackets drop the puck. So let's get into our next segment, our pregame picks presented to us by Bet365. This pregame pick segment is brought to you by Bet365. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 plus and physically located in Pennsylvania. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, Steve. So I went with this. To me, felt like a play that either is going to work well or I'm going to look like a complete idiot, because I only get one pick. Right? When you fill in for somebody, you get one chance to look good.
You get one shot.
I'm either going to look like an idiot, or I'm going to feel really good about myself moving forward. I'm going to take Travis Sanheim at plus 125 to record a point tonight. Travis Sanheim, in 4 of his last 5 games against NHL teams that are in the bottom 10 of goals allowed this season, which Columbus is, he has picked up at least 1 point in 4 of his last 5 games. Do you know the only game he didn't do it in?
Which one's that?
The last time they played the Columbus Blue Jackets. So I'm going to hope that trend continues at least the 4 out of 5, and he makes it 5 out of 6, but he breaks the trend of not doing it against Columbus. So I'm going to take Travis Sanheim at plus 125 to record a point tonight.
I'm into it. I like it. I mean, Sanheim's the 3rd leading scorer on this team. He's got 20 points in 33 games. He's going to get a lot of ice time. He always gets like 22 plus minutes. So yeah, I like that. I'm into that. And I'm feeling pretty good about our boy Matvei Michkov tonight. All right.
There it is.
I'm thinking.
There it is.
I'm thinking Mish is getting on the board. All right. I'm calling it straight up. I don't know what the odds are. I don't care. I'm calling Michkov for a goal. I'm going to put down my own money on this. All right. It's going to happen. I feel good. He is a cold-blooded guy. All right. He is up for the spotlight, and he knows with one of the biggest players on this team out tonight that he has to step up. He's been a little bit of a slump as far as point production goes. This guy is going to step up. I feel good about a Michkov goal tonight.
Well, you brought up I just mentioned it with Columbus being as poor as they are in the goals allowed department. And I know you wanted to kind of, when we get into this conversation about the Blue Jackets, talk about the starting goaltender tonight, Elvis Merzlikins. Wow, that did not roll off the tongue well.
It does not roll off the tongue well.
It really doesn't.
Elvis Merzlikins is not an easy one to say. It's like
really. And you know what's funny? It's not like it's not a name I've not said before.
Yeah,
we've talked about this Blue Jackets team. That one did not roll off the tongue well, so my apologies there. I know you wanted to talk about the goaltender situation tonight.
Would you have felt better about Daniil Tarasov?
Not really.
Or, Jet Greaves is the easy one out of the 3 of those.
Yeah, not particularly. Yeah. I'm not going to lie to you.
Elvis Merzlikins, number one, I had no idea this guy was 30. I had no idea because I feel like I've been hearing about him for 2 years.
Sure.
So 30 years old is a shocker to me, completely shocked. But his numbers stink this year. 891 save percentage, 305 GAA. You got to attack tonight. You got to attack. I know it's tough with Couturier out there, but let's throw caution to the wind and let's generate some high danger chances. Let's get in there deep. Let's get those pucks deep, baby. Let's get in there. Let's get some opportunities. This is a team that you can score on. Let's go offensive heavy. And I would just love to see the Flyers break out, especially after those tough games earlier this week. The team has to be frustrated. The team has to want to go out and just punch Columbus in the mouth. And I'm not talking about, they might be talking about doing that like literally, but I'm talking like in the goal department. Let's punch them in the mouth. Let's get some goals. Let's blow them out tonight.
So the number was 6.5, the game total. I know neither of us touched the over-under on the game total tonight, 6.5. You feel good about the over, if that's the conversation
We're going
piece?
up and above and beyond.
All right, so just
it.
Really quickly before we get out of here, Columbus 30th in goals allowed per game, 3.58. Only Montreal and Pittsburgh have given up more per game. The Flyers not too far behind at 3.55. This is the one that kind of stood out to me, though. Columbus has only seen the 14th most shots this year at 957, yet they've given up tied for 3rd most goals at 118. Save percentage has been poor across the board for Columbus. Obviously, goals against per game has been poor across the board for the Blue Jackets as well. Seems like we could be in for a high-scoring affair tonight.
I'm hoping so. It's Saturday night, and we're watching the Flyers. We want to see some goals. Let's go.
All right, thank you, everybody. Appreciate you for checking in. No Super Chats today, so if you do want to leave one in the post-game show, we'll get to you as well. But everybody in the comment section, we appreciate you. Trying to get through a couple of names real quick. Brian Knight, Corey, K-Red. My goodness, I cannot see with these lights. I'm blinded.
They are blinding lights.
Miles Millennium, Jesse Bond, Dave Harris. Everybody, appreciate y'all because I'm going to go blind in a second from staring into these lights. I don't know how everybody does it on a daily basis. But yes, appreciate everybody for checking in. We will be back with the Flyers post-game show here on PHLY as soon as this game wraps up. We will check back in with you. Steve, myself, and Brennan will be back. Thank you again to our presenting sponsor, Coors Light. This PHLY Flyers pregame show has been presented to us by our friends at Coors Light. Visit CoorsLight.com/PHLY hockey to get Coors Light delivered to you or find a store near you. We'll be back at the end of the game for Flyers Columbus Blue Jackets post-game show right here on PHLY.
We all silly like the mayor.